I am a responsible person, and I persevere. And perseverance is, I think, is one of my strongest sides. I'm also a little bit stubborn. I persist, when I put something to mind, I work hard. For the World Marathon Challenge, I'm raising funds for 7,000 children's 1 year of education at Tegev. My name is Ahmet Uysal. I was born in Adana in 1972. Now I'm training for the World Marathon Challenge. This is a very special race that spans 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days.
Where we start, we actually go to an international runway called Novo in Antarctica. So that's directly south of Cape Town, about 5.5 hours flight. So we start the first event there. So we fly from there to Cape Town to run the second marathon, and that's the African marathon. Then to Perth, then to Dubai, Madrid, Fortaleza in Brazil, and finish in Miami. So it's largely a logistical exercise as much as a physical one. There's the whole idea of getting around within 168 hours is a challenge in itself. But to run 7 marathons in those 168 hours, it's pretty amazing for everybody. So we start the first event there around the runway. And once we start that first event, the clock starts. And we have 168 hours to get to the finish.
A lot of my runs I've done for an educational foundation, Tegev in short.
Our relation with Ahmet started back in 2017. Ahmet decided to run a marathon at the North Pole. He raised funds for sponsoring one of our activity centers in Siirt. The money he raised covered the cost of the education center for 2 years. And then in 2018, he decided to run across Turkey. And he raised funds for the education support of the 6,000 children in that year.
The reason why we gave this to him is because he assisted in the development of fair play spirit amongst young people. He made huge sacrifices for this purpose without expecting anything.
And we are very grateful to him. We love him, and our children at Tegev love him. They get inspired and they always say, I'm going to run a marathon just like you when I grow up.
I've been a runner for over 20 years now, actually. My first marathon was in 2005, the Istanbul Marathon. And in 2017, a dear friend told me, hey, there's a marathon at the North Pole, and you like running, why don't you go do that? Anyways, a few months later, I found myself at the North Pole running the marathon. This is my last run in Istanbul after almost 2 years of training, and I'm leaving on Thursday for the World Marathon Challenge to Cape Town. Maika, my children, and my family, and all the Tegev children. We are always connected. January 30th, beautiful morning at Cape Town. We just finished the meeting and the COVID tests, and as I was going to my room, I received a message that everything's pulled earlier 10 hours because of bad weather in Antarctica.
There are so many factors in this event that you can't control, from the weather in Antarctica dictating when we might actually begin. We can never say what the schedule is for sure, to all kinds of variables. So I think the most important thing is to, appreciate the fact you're there and you're in the moment, and to stop trying to control things except your attitude to it, and to embrace the pain.
Antarctica, here we come. We have arrived in Antarctica. It was a smooth flight, safe landing. It's quite cold, I have to say. Wind chill is pretty high. The plane is awesome, huh? Very handsome plane.
If you want to freeze water, you would put it into a fridge or you would put it outside in Antarctica. It's not just zero, it's going down to minus 20, minus 30 degrees. Very cold. And with the wind that is so strong, it would cut through you. It would feel like knives going into your body. Unbelievable that anyone would try to run in Antarctica in any way. It's just madness. Well, the winds are very strong and they are getting up towards 100 kilometres an hour. So it would be rather like putting your head out of a car at 100 kilometres an hour. It is not something where you could keep your eyes open. They would be forced shut, which makes it very hard because you'd probably fall over fairly regularly if that was the case. Almost everything that could go wrong would go wrong running in Antarctica.
Richard was saying he was the worst ever. Peak sometimes the wind gusts were like 100 kilometers out of, but it was so miserable at times. But I persevered. I have the power of taking children inside me.
The second marathon is going to be only 18 hours after the start of the first marathon. So I will have maybe less than 12 hours to rest and recover, and 6 of those 12 hours will be on a flight back from Antarctica to South Africa.
Manfred Seidler. I'm a athletics communications specialist. I've been in the industry for 30 years. Cape Town is what we call the mother city of South Africa. It's obviously because it's the first city that was settled. It's a great venue for a marathon. It'll be on the bucket list of not just the local South Africans, but also those that want to get the current 6 stars, which will become 7 stars.
Hello from Cape Town. Our flight is 19 hours delayed. There was a huge crisis yesterday, and because the South African government did not give a landing permit to the plane who was going to pick us up, and the plane was going to come from Madrid, I found out about this from Richard, and I told him actually I could try to help, and I called my brother-in-law Ali, who was actually in Vietnam. He's the honorary consulate of Turkey for Vietnam, anyways, he called the honorary consulate of South Africa, and I also called my producers in TRT World, and he reached out to they reached out to the ambassador and the Turkish ambassador. So all these connections combined. The Turkish ambassador called I think the Department of Transportation in South Africa, and the situation was resolved like that, and so it became kind of a celebrity among the runners.
He feels very responsible and he's committed to it, and that's who he is. I mean, he's a very trustworthy guy. He's very dependable. He's been really training hard, and he's become great, I think, physically doing that.
I've been training for about 2 years now, continuously. Actually, I've trained 365 days out of 365. Fitting the training into my daily life has been actually quite a challenge itself. I sleep about 5, 6, 7 hours. Fitting 2-3 hours of time into my schedule every day has been a big challenge because I do have a family.
We like to say that we've known each other for 500 years. I think we're old souls that were bound to meet in this life and to be together. It's like soulmate feeling. Our family definitely, married this project and went with the flow with it, and I think I intentionally tried to create a supportive environment. I think we just embraced it, and I'm very much about harmony.
My family has been very involved with actually all my runs, starting with the North Pole and then the run across Turkey, and now with the biggest challenge of all, the World Marathon Challenge. In several aspects, it takes a lot of time to train for these. I'm taking 10, 15, sometimes 20 hours of training in a week, and of course this is taking some time of me away from them.
We also sometimes came along his trainings on the weekend so that we could also make it part of our family life. He learned through time, and I think he has evolved actually through this training to manage his tension and pressure so that it didn't reflect on us. I can see who he has become through this training, and he's a very playful father. So for example, when he has a training, he goes to his school to run, we go with him.
Hang on tight, Akira, okay? We're gonna do one lap together. This is the last week of training for the World Marathon Challenge, and I'm running with a 20 kilo weight on my shoulders. This is the best training anyone can hope for.
I miss my father.
So we are 9 hours into the flight to Perth. I had almost a good night's sleep. I think I slept about 5.5 hours, and just woke up, had a nice omelette, and trying to drink as much water as I can.
I'm Ola Milina. I'm a health and performance coach. I help people create daily routines around food, sleep, physical activity, and rest, recovery. With Ahmed, we focused on nutrition, and we increased a little bit amount of food that he needed to consume in order to recover better. He paid most of the attention to the physical training, to the physical preparation, and almost zero attention to nutrition, hydration, and recovery. During our work, we've been focusing on increasing the amount of food for him to feel better. During the day, his plates were full of vegetables, various whole foods like protein sources like chicken or meat, and then carbs in order to replace those glycogen storages that he emptied during the training. That can be chocolate, that can be rice, that can be bulgur, or anything like that. During the run, he needed to consume also some food, not to run out of energy. Those could be gels, but also like banana, some dry fruits, or bars. And water with electrolytes. Without drinking, we can't help all the nutrients go from our digestive system to the muscles.
Interestingly, I find running quite boring, actually. It's a challenge to continue running. Every time I start running, I'm counting my steps, and I'm counting the meters. Now, a lot of my runs, I'm running like a robot. I'm like a machine.
In a challenge like that, there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. We can learn to see the good in the situation. So if we're going through a low period, it would be natural for us to focus on the negative things that are going on. We just look at 3 good things that happened on that day, and then next to it, we have 3 things about you that made those things happen. So you take ownership of those good things. When motivation does drop, we're still motivated. We're still able to focus on the good stuff which will push us through rather than the bad stuff which might stop us from progressing.
What I do like about running is that you can track your progress and how your performance is better and better. I've been training with a Latvian coach who lives in Germany. He was a professional kayaking athlete. It's interesting the way I met my coach. I had a fellow runner at the North Pole Marathon, TRT. I actually finished the North Pole Marathon with him side by side. I was trying to convince him to join me for the World Marathon Challenge, and it took a bit of convincing, and then he decided to join me actually, and he even hired a coach. Only later he quit because he had back injuries, but he introduced me with Andres, and Andres became my coach.
With Ahmed we had to introduce a consistent strength schedule, challenges on some of the weeks, some longer days to really kind of shake his system a little bit and test him how he would deal, for example, 2 back-to-back marathons, both physically but most importantly also mentally. On the mental side, Ahmed is a real warrior. I mean, it would have been better if we could meet for a chat or for a coffee.
Ahmed, Marathon 5, how do you feel?
I feel very good now that you're here.
Good. Strong physically, strong mentally. Yeah, the smile on him never leaves. So when I turn this off, the smile stays.
That's true.
That's his superpower.
I don't focus on the worry side, because if we start worrying, there is not an end. And I also know that he's a grown-up, so he can take care of himself, and he's aware when he has any injury or when he starts to get some headache. He's very aware of his body, so I don't think if I worried, it would really help.
He's so healthy and one of the strongest persons that I really met. And about his health issue, what I would say is he routinely has his routine checkups.
The marathon was very difficult, very, very difficult. I think I took maybe 8 painkillers. I lost count. My left knee is so painful.
One of the characteristics that runners and coaches need is patience. So for every performance like Jake had in Eugene, there'll be days when training's been hard, when he's been injured, where things haven't gone quite so well. So there's an awful lot of light and shade, much like life really, that you've got to put up with before you get the really sunny, joyful days. So you make the most of those, but you don't get too carried away, and you also don't get too carried away when things are going badly.
12-hour flight to Fortaleza.
It's a very nice day today. It's what is it, 5:45. We're about to start. The group is ready.
I met Ahmed when I was 11, about 40 years ago. We've been friends starting with junior high school. He has challenged himself in extraordinary ways to do good and to be a good person. And this World Marathon is the latest example of that and the greatest and most difficult challenge that he's undertaking.
We're about to land in 20 minutes in Miami. It'll be around 10 p.m. And yeah, it'll be kind of like a midnight marathon. I put on hard knee braces. I'm gonna try to skip and walk and run.
I was very excited to see my dad in Miami. It had been a long time since I last saw him, and he'd been training for the World Marathon Challenge for a long time now. So I had a bike and I rode the bike alongside him, and it was actually very hard to catch up with him. I was out of breath almost the whole time.
You make it look easy, my friend.
Seeing my dad accomplish his goals, completing the World Marathon Challenge, and just seeing him doing it all for the kids was very inspiring and very special to me.
I was able to call my mother, I was able to talk to Micah and Akira again, and all my rituals were complete. I was basically flying, or more so skipping to the finish line. And then I called Micah for one last time via FaceTime, held the camera on the finish line, all the hard work, thousands of kilometers of training, all the pain. It was for this moment. I'm flying home now. I left my Miami family behind. I separated at the airport with Anka, who went back to school, and I'm on my way now to my aching, broken motherland.
We begin with breaking news: an earthquake on a terrifying scale.
Overnight, two massive earthquakes struck southeastern Turkey. Their magnitude 7.8 and 7.6.
One of the most powerful earthquakes to hit the region in a century.
The death toll just continues to soar right now.
There have been dozens of aftershocks, the most recent and strongest measuring 7.5.
While I was at the end of this journey, a disaster hit motherland, touching millions of lives. I have no words to describe how heartbreaking it is. I learned about the earthquakes when we landed in Fortaleza, and I wore a black armband in honor of those who lost their lives. The donations to my Tegev campaign have been released to the earthquake area, where Tegev units initially provided food, shelter, and social support, and now educational activities. I visited the disaster area a month after my return and spent time with our volunteers, our children, who are the real heroes. We will overcome this tragedy together, and we will run farther. There's a lot of challenges in life, and sometimes there's hurdles that we jump over.
Haribo power.
I twisted and turned for 4 or 5 hours, but it didn't work. We run into problems, and we have to fix those problems to go forward. Oh, sorry. I'll do that again. I enjoy the similarity. And then hopefully for many more years. between the endurance runs and life, the challenge of life.
I'm excited for my dad.